the LDS Church is the largest private landowner in the states of Illinois, Nebraska, Utah, and Florida.
Craziest part is an investment fund is a church on paper. Ensign Peak Advisors, which is the name of their investment arm, is registered as an auxiliary to the church, which means it is a church. So let that sink in.
They just beat out Bill Gates on a couple 100,000 acres in Washington. It's tough because let's say the land is out on the market for $10 million. The religious institution didn't have to pay any taxes on those donations coming in. And then they're not going to be paying property taxes, and they're not going to be paying taxes on when it sells. But that's how they beat out Bill Gates. They're able to bid higher. And they own all sorts of things. I mean, they got a hotel in Hawaii.
They built the biggest mall in Salt Lake.
Luxury.
It's a photo of me as a 30-something-year-old Mormon stay-at-home mom. I took this picture on the day that I was septic. My doctors told me I wasn't going to make it. The chaplain had come in and talked to me about dying and going to heaven to see Jesus. And I thought that this would be the last photo that I would ever take of myself. I had sepsis because of an infection that I had acquired after surgery to remove a benign ovarian tumor. Obviously, I made it. Here I am today, but I would spend the next 3 years mostly in bed, sometimes in the hospital, often having surgeries and all kinds of medical treatments, and always during that 3 years fighting for my life. As Mormons, my husband and I were commanded to pay 10% of our gross income to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the form of tithing as well as other offering. During this time, we would have a medical bankruptcy. We would lose a home. We would lose vehicles. We would lose everything as my care required so much money. My husband was barely able to work, and our family was fighting to survive. And despite all financial hardships, we always paid that tithing. It's not like the bishop or somebody came to us and said, you guys are really sick. Why don't you just hold off on your tithing for now? In fact, there were a few months when we were getting help from our local ward to pay a couple of our electric bills. I think they paid a mortgage 1 month. And then we were getting some food from the bishop's storehouse as our finances completely disintegrated during that medical bankruptcy. And they told us that we would not get any of that if we weren't 100% whole tithe payers. And I remember one afternoon when my husband had gotten a paycheck and we had all these bills to pay, and he was really grappling with that. He's like, I owe $500 in tithing, and that is going to leave us really short after the mortgage and all the car payments and all the medical bills and everything. We could really use that $500. And we decided as a couple that we were going to obey Heavenly Father and make that tithing payment despite the fact that I was dying, that we had 5 children financially dependent on us, that our business was failing simply because my husband was barely able to keep up with anything. And I remember as we paid that tithing, thinking to myself, as bad as I have it, at least I have a house to live in. This money is going to homeless people. It's going to widows. It's going to orphans. It's going to people who need us so much more than I do. And that is the attitude with which I paid my tithing, sacrificing for people who are in more dire need than me. So imagine my shock when I found out that the Mormon Church was actually using my tithing money and the tithing money of all of its members to buy hundreds of millions of dollars of stock in things like Tesla, to buy up all of the farmland in Nebraska and Florida and Texas and in Arizona, just right down the street from me, to build malls and hoard wealth in ways that are just sickening. My ex-husband and I estimate that we paid just under $300,000 in tithing to the Mormon Church in the 24 years that we were married. And I'll tell you what I currently have in a retirement account, zero. My savings account is somewhere around $80 right now. And the fact my rent is paid, I have gas in my car, and I still have $80 in savings is miraculous. If you haven't watched my stuff, I was homeless after my divorce, and the Mormon Church would not help me with rent, with moving, with food, with absolutely anything. And I understand why. It's because they needed my money more than I needed my money.